We're going to look at number 33 as we attempt to solve a problem involving the distance formula, and you see the graph there of line segment ST and the coordinates of each of those points. We're trying to find the distance between those 2 points. And if you really wanted to, you could do the old-fashioned way and turn this into a right triangle with your leg here, your leg here. This would make it your hypotenuse. And you could do a squared plus b squared equals c squared and then solve for c. That'd be one way to do it. You could also use the distance formula, which would probably be a little bit better in this scenario. And remember, the distance formula comes from the Pythagorean theorem, so you're kind of doing the same thing. The distance formula is the square root, or the distance equals the square root of one of the x's minus the other one squared plus one of the y's minus the other y squared. So one of the things I like to do immediately is just label your diagram. So let's call this our first x, so x1, and this would be our first y, y1. This can be our second x, so x sub 2, and our second y, so y sub 2. Because if you've got those labeled and you know that x sub 1 is negative 1, and you know that x sub 2 is 3, all you're doing is plugging that into the formula. Okay, so let's rewrite this. Square root of x sub 2 minus x sub 1. Well, x sub 2 we said was 3 minus x sub 1, which we said was a negative 1. Okay, we'll go to the next part of that. Oops, sorry. 3 minus negative 1. Now we need the y's. Y sub 2 minus y sub 1. Y sub 2 was negative 2, so let's plug that in. Minus y sub 1, which was positive 2 squared. Okay, so that's the whole thing, and now we just need to simplify. So I'll rewrite it again. 3 minus a negative 1, that's like 3 plus 1, is 4, and if I square that, it's 16. And then over here I've got negative 2 minus 2, which would be negative 4, and if I square that, it would be 16. And so altogether, the distance there has to be the square root of 32. Okay, there's nothing wrong with that. We could simplify that a little bit further, and we could say that that's really 4 times the square root of 2. That's probably a little bit more specific, better way to write that distance, whether that's inches or centimeters, whatever it is. But that's using the distance formula to find the length here in units.